All right, what's up, guys? It's time for another podcast, another episode of Titan and Gravehonor's video game review.
And or just general talking about stuff.
So I'm gonna apologize ahead of time. We're having some construction work done to one of the bathrooms, and so you guys might hear some hammering, you might hear some drilling, you might hear some other stuff, or people talking, or yelling, or screaming, or cursing. But
Good
we're
time.
we're going to try to minimize that as much as possible. So, yeah, today we're going to talk about the franchise Dragon Quest. Phil, like a couple weeks ago, we talked about Final Fantasy, so it's only right to talk about Dragon Quest. And this is really more of Christina's area here. Like she plays a lot of Dragon Quest. I played it back when it was on the old original Nintendo. But yeah, that's what the subject's going to be today. So feel free to drop any questions or comments in the chat room. If you want to join in on the conversation, we'll try to get to everybody in a timely manner.
And of course, feel free to add any of your own trivia or special facts and knowledge about the Dragon Quest series that we might not know.
And that, I'm going to tell you, that's going to be very well possible because
Yeah.
while I do like the series and I've played a few of the games, like I'm not extremely. You're not. You would stump me on Dragon Quest trivia, but
Yeah,
you
probably
couldn't.
me too.
Yeah, you
Like, I love the games, but I don't know enough about them to know any, like, little bits of information or probably even remember important character names.
sure. You definitely wouldn't be able to stump me like that with Final Fantasy, but Dragon Quest, you might trip me up a little bit. So where do we want to start here? What do we want to talk about first?
So, how about that Nintendo Power story with how it's got its rough start?
Oh yeah, okay. So and I remember this personally. I'm old enough to remember um, that when the Nintendo first came out, sometime within the first year or two, um, they were trying to bring Dragon Quest here, which was called Dragon Warrior, and at the time people just really weren't into that kind of game. And based on some of the games that had been put out, this was more of like I guess like a dumbed down type of game. Like people weren't a fan of the graphics and the user interface and all that kind of stuff. So
So, I guess at the time it was being compared to Final Fantasy being
yeah, I mean
similar at
that
the time.
that was its major competitor, which Dragon Quest or Dragon Warriors was being made by Enix before Square Enix became Square Enix, and so what happened was Nintendo, in anticipation of this being as big over here as it was in Japan and stuff, they ordered way too many copies and they just weren't selling. So to entice people, you got a free brand new copy of Dragon Warrior with a subscription to Nintendo Power. So it was like, okay, well, you already were. Everybody was ordering Nintendo Power anyway, and I love Nintendo. I mean, I missed those magazines, the
Yeah, me
artwork.
too.
I always looked forward to it. It always had some pull-out poster in the middle. It had cool artwork. It showed screenshots of all the upcoming games. But anyway, so everybody was going to order that anyway. So they just, bundled up a brand new inbox copy of Dragon Warrior in everybody's subscription.
That's
And
awesome, but it's also kind of sad because you wish it had better starts,
it
like,
is.
better origins in the West.
It is kind of sad. But I will say this. Had they not done that, I probably would have never actually played it. So
Good
I'm
point.
I'm glad they did it that way because I honestly didn't think the game was that bad. Like, sure, it was weird because it was kind of first person, so you didn't ever see your character. There was no real like character creation, and when you first play it and it's like you have defeated a slime, you're like, big deal. And at times the game was super hard, but I do remember playing it, and I actually do remember playing it all the way through and beating that game.
Oh, wow.
Um, and it took forever. Like what felt like forever back then. 10 hours of gameplay felt like forever when you could finish a game in 10 or 15 minutes usually. so,
Yeah.
this was one of the first games I think I owned that Nintendo actually had a backup battery in it, so it would actually save your game. Because most games back then,
Oh, it didn't have those save codes?
no, most
Oh,
games back
wow.
then had same save codes, and you could always tell because on the back of the cartridge, the label would be gold colored, and it would say, whenever you get ready to turn the game off, you had to push and hold the reset button while pushing the power button, or it would not save.
That
So
sounds kind of difficult.
yeah, but more games started doing that, and obviously that led to later on um, being able to develop longer games because most games where you play to a level, and if you die there, if you want to return to that level, you have to put in this code. Now that's also where Nintendo Power came in handy because a lot of times they'd give you like final boss codes or special boss codes to take you to levels that you probably couldn't have been to. Um, but yeah, I think Dragon Warrior was one of the first ones that I knew of, that I personally owned that used the battery save. So, but it was a good start, and what that series has become to date is amazing. I mean, it
It's
it It may have been a
Mm.
competitor with Final Fantasy, but it's pretty much like spot on.
In
Like
a way,
people
yeah, in
love
a way, it
both.
still might be a competitor, but I feel like I see more people begging for Dragon Quest because it's not always guaranteed to get localized for the West.
And see, that's the difference. You're always going to get Final Fantasy, and so the I think the limited availability of Dragon Quest makes it more desirable because
Mm.
nobody likes to be told they can't have something.
Especially when they really want.
Right? Oh, I can't. Um, as you've seen proof of. I mean, they have adapted some of those games and gave them English subtitles and English patches because there was no local version made.
Yeah. Before I pretty much get to that though, I don't know much about Dragon Quest 2 or 3, so were those also on the NES or Super NES? Like, do you remember seeing them, or if they even came out to the West at all?
Uh, I think so. Again, they were under Dragon Warrior, and I think I remember it going all the way up to Dragon Warrior 4 or 5,
Okay.
before it actually adapted its name to Dragon Quest.
Okay.
I can't be too sure. Um,
So this is pretty much as far back as I can go because I wasn't really a gamer at this time when these were, the brand new games or anything like that. But I did, as far back with like older-ish games go, I did play 4 when it was renamed Chapters of the Chosen on the DS remake. Unfortunately, I didn't play much of it. I just tested it to make sure it worked because I bought it pre-owned somewhere because I just want to make sure I get to play it. But from what I do know, I'm pretty sure that the Chapters of the Chosen is like you go through multiple character stories and you see their motivations or what's different each story. And I love it when there's multiple character stories because I feel like it might bring a bit more life to the game or it makes you wonder more about other characters and like it's not just about one hero or anything like that. Um, See, unfortunately, I can't say too much about that because that's another game on my very long, infinite feeling backlog. But if there is one that many fans might know about, is the one after that is Dragon Quest Hand of the Heavenly Bride remake for the DS. I don't know what changed for the DS remake, but it was insanely popular to the point where you just couldn't find it in stores for the longest time. My mic's still working okay?
oh yeah, you're good to go.
Okay, good, because I was getting nervous. But yeah, Hand of the Heavenly Bride has. I did actually personally play this through all the way to the end because a friend let me borrow it, and it was one of the best games I think I may have ever played. The story is they really know how to get to you in the story. Like I might have not gotten as emotional as other people may have, but with this one to make it super relevant and so you can really feel like you're in the hero's shoes, you actually start the game off as a kid and then there's a point where other story stuff happens and then you zoom in later when they're an adult, so you see what stuff they went through as a kid to kind of shape them to who they are, or see what trials and struggles they went through. And I'm like, wow, this is really rough for a kid, holy crap. And then I'm pretty sure the dad dies trying to save you, so that's pretty sad. I think I end up crying a bit at that because they just did it so well with the theme, with the atmosphere and the music. I wasn't sure if I should reveal it or not for people who haven't played it, but it's like I have to talk about the emotional
Now
stuff behind it.
the
So
question is did they pull the Attack on Titan and just keep showing the father dying in every scene?
no, I don't think they did. It may have come in like one or two flashbacks, maybe. Um, but yeah, it's actually called Hand of the Heavenly Bride because at some point your character can actually get married and you get to choose from three people. I think that was new for the DS version, or they added one extra character instead of two you could pick from, just because. And depending which girl you picked, it would change how the children came out, like what their appearance was and maybe what they started out with. And I thought that was actually a kind of cute detail for something like that. And even though you get married, you're still going on an adventure to save the world with your kids and your wife. Think. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm just bringing some 10-year-olds with me, and hopefully they don't die of these monsters. It's all good.
Well, one thing that I really like about the Dragon Quest series is it doesn't matter if it's one that just came out a week ago or if it's one that came out 10 years ago, they still find ways to put in those old 8-bit special
Yes, I
sound
love
effects.
that. Even with the newer ones like Dragon Quest 8 for the PS2, which I didn't know at the time because that was actually the very first one I played. But
Oh,
even
sweet.
when you cast Zoom, any kind of spell that has the same um sound effect, even when you go downstairs like that, and when you level up, it's the same doo 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 kind of thing, and it's like it's so
Yeah,
nostalgic.
yeah, and I think they play on that. Like I think they play
Hmm.
on people's nostalgia because I noticed in even in the later games, like they'll go back to kind of like what I think it was what Dragon Quest 8, where it was kind of like this roaming around open world thing, but as soon as you got back into the battles, it looked almost like the ones that were made for like the old 16-bit systems. Like it was those side battles with the almost first person type view, and it's just neat how they play
Yeah,
on that
and
kind of
even in the
stuff.
newest release, Dragon Quest 11, right? Echoes of an Elusive Age, they
Yes,
still kept those nostalgic sound
they
effects,
damn
and
sure
I
did.
love that so much. Even just that little kind of whistly noise right before a character attacks is still there.
Yeah, they damn sure did. And we'll get to Dragon's Quest 11 because that's one that I need to talk about. But
Mm-hmm.
so the first one that you
Well,
played, you said was on PlayStation 2.
yeah, but just one another quick thing about Hand of the Heavenly Bride is that I don't know when this trend started with these DS remakes. And I didn't really get to play Chapters of the Chosen yet to see if it was in that one too. But in Hand of the Heavenly Bride, once you start your official adventure as an adult and stuff, sometimes when you defeat an enemy, it will decide if it wants to join you. And of course, you could say yes or no, I'm pretty sure, or it just automatically joins you. And for some reason, I thought that was kind of an emotional thing too. Even though I couldn't, turn it in my favor if there's one I really wanted. But when it joins you, I feel like you actually formed a friendship with it somehow, or you impressed it. And it's like, hey, I want to join you. And the very first one, I still remember the very first one I got was a jail cat, and I kept that cat on my team like through at least half the game, even when I was starting to have trouble, because it was just my first tamed kitty cat. And it's like it was so important to me for some reason.
Yeah, and for people that don't know, you're like a huge monster raising
Yes, I love
gamer.
monster raising and capturing elements of whatever kind. Most of the time, I'll try any spin-off if I find it interesting.
Right. And so these kind of games, and especially going into games like that they had on the handheld, like the Dragon Quest Joker series, these
Mhm.
were really pretty much that was like the backbone of the game was monster raising and breeding them and making new
Mhm.
monsters and stuff. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
kind of like right up your alley.
Mhm. They were technically spin-offs though, but I'm surprised that Dragon Quest actually has a decent amount of spin-offs when you think about it, and I can't really think of a bad one. Well, maybe one might be bad, but if anything, it's just because it's so out of the park or something. After that one, I guess, is the DS remake Dragon Quest Realms of Revelation, and that one I also didn't really get to play yet. I just tested it to make sure it worked, and I think you can still have befriend monsters in that one, and it's kind of like time traveling in that one, but unfortunately that's the extent of what I know. But it was fairly well received as another older game remake. And the one after that, people were ticked off about for quite a long time because they made a 3DS remake of it a while ago, and Japan has had it for at least 2 or 3 years, and there's still no word of a localization for the West. And I think only a few years ago it finally came out, I want to say, but I don't know when it actually did come out. I want to,
It's hard to
I wish
keep
I.
up. They have so many.
Let me see. I'm cheating here. Yeah, it came out for the 3DS in Japan in 2013, and we finally got it 3 years later. So I guess that's about the normal time a localization for a big game would take, but I guess people were mostly upset because they were not hinting towards it in any way. And people, this is still part of the time where there was enough Dragon Quest fans, even though they're not as big of a fan base as maybe Final Fantasy, and they're just like begging, and they're like, I will go on my hands and knees and beg for this game, just please, God, Square Enix, why? um, so yeah, it was finally released in the West, and it was called Fragments of the Forgotten Past. And I did play through it partially, but it's when I got to replay yet again to give it a shot. And so far, I really liked it. You collect fragments and you time travel to different time periods. And there was a kind of sad moment in it, which I'm not sure if I should just go ahead and spoil or just skip it or what.
No, go for it because these games have been around for a while now, so it's not like it was a new release that
Yeah, true.
that you're
Yeah, at least
spoiling.
I'm warning of spoilers. So if you don't want to hear it, I guess mute me for a little bit or something. Uh, so for a while you have the full four party, and then you go to this past area, and one party member seems to just take a liking to a girl there, and it's not even in a stupid way. It's like they feel like they belong there, and they really want to help this little village out, even though they're actually royalty. So they're not really acting like this stuck up prince or anything. They find that they belong in this little village and they want to help out. So they stay in the past and they leave your party. And then later, of course, when you're somewhere else or somewhere where that village used to be, you find the gravestone of him and his wife. I'm like, oh my god. Of course, you know what's going to happen because this was hundreds of years ago, but it's still sad. Like, you'll never see them again unless you go back to the past or something.
Mm.
And then, of course, when you think about time travel in general, it's just really wonky. So it's like, how can he exist in the past when right now he's dead? It's like, are they both at the same time? It's confusing. But yeah, for some reason, that actually really got to me, and I kind of got a little bit nauseous from sadness.
Yeah, time travel will definitely put your brain in knots when you start overthinking it. Um, and real quick, before we keep going, I know there are some of you who are watching this video live on Facebook and commenting on it because I'm getting the notifications, but I just want you guys to know that we actually cannot see you chatting from Facebook. Like
Oh man.
while you can watch the video and hear everything that we're saying, we can't interact with you. So if you want to interact with us and comment, you can join us over on Twitch. It's Twitch TV/Titans with an S underscore revenge, and just pop in a chat room. It's wide open. But I'm just a reminder that we will not see the comments that are coming in on the Facebook video
Yeah, that sucks.
until after the stream is over. So yeah, if you guys want to come in and chat, feel free. But it's not we're not ignoring you. It's just that for some reason the stream software only picks up Twitch and YouTube. Because it
Hmm.
doesn't keep up with people who different privacy settings on Facebook.
Yeah.
So people that have like friends only and stuff isn't going to show. So anyway,
I don't know.
I just wanted to say that real quick.
Yeah, I don't know if it would work, but he finally, well, not finally. I think he tried to tell me about it before, but I was too dumb to find it. But you gave me a little link to just get the Twitch pop out so I can see the chat for once if anyone did comment. So I'm not sure if it would work if maybe before you posted like, oh, we're going live on Facebook and stuff. What if you posted that link there so they could join it from that and still watch on Facebook? Would
Well,
that work? Or no, because they don't have an account.
most the reason why we're doing it the way we do is because a lot of people. Hey Jen, I see you. Actually, I see you said cool sounding games, and that came from Facebook. That's weird.
I
Um,
still don't see anything.
well, you won't because it's on the Restream software.
Oh, okay.
Um, you'll see it if they type it in the Twitch chat. But the reason why it okay, so when it streams to Facebook, it just does it automatically. It comes up that this person has gone live. It gives that notification to almost the entire friends list. So that's for the people. We're doing that for the people who haven't been able to figure out about clicking and coming to Twitch and then maybe having to sign up for an account and all that. This was a way that they could still watch and listen to it without all that. But in order to participate, you really have to either be on Twitch or YouTube. And I'm not even really sure about how the YouTube thing works. That's kind of new to us. But for some reason, one comment did come in from Facebook from Jennifer Hill, and she just said cool sounding games. And but I did see on the phone that several people are already commenting on the video. So I'm just letting everybody know that we're not ignoring you. We just can't see it. So if you wanna come
The
into
easiest way to reach us for us to see it is to probably try Twitch out
yeah
or YouTube, like you said.
yeah, just come to Twitch. We'll give you a shout out for coming in and talking. We'll say hello. We'll acknowledge you. I promise. Um, so let's get back on subject though. I just want to
Mhm.
clear that up so that people didn't think like, oh well, they're not even paying attention, so I don't want to watch. But I'm getting the notifications, but it's just the notification. Like I can't actually see what anybody is saying unless you pretty much come into the Twitch chat. So, but thank you for joining and watching it anyway. We do appreciate every person that watches, no matter which platform you're
Yes,
watching
thank
from.
you.
So okay, so we were talking about you were talking about the
The Fragments of the Forgotten Past.
yes, that one.
And that kind of depressing scene that got to me for some reason.
Yeah.
And something that I also like that Dragon Quest started to do, I don't know if they did this in the past games, because I wasn't, a gamer then, and it wasn't too much of a, it wasn't really a feature in the past three that I mentioned, the Realms of Revelation, Hands of the Heavenly Bride, or Chapters of the Chosen. But in Fragments of the Forgotten Past, at some point you unlock different jobs and you can change them. So you can change out what your party members are and try and level those up. And some skills actually stay with you. So you can kind of mix and match the job classes. And that's also something that I really like for some reason. It might be part to do with some MMOs I really used to like Eden Eternal, you used to be, as long as you had the class unlocked, you could change into it like as long as you're not in combat. And I just liked having access to it because other than that, I usually have like 10 different characters just to try out every class. So I just really like being able to swap it up and have something different.
Yeah. And one thing I've always liked the different characters that they've used in each one of the Dragon's Quest. Like, but in Dragon Quest Joker, I don't know if I'm the only one, but for some reason that character reminds me of Goku.
Well, it is the same kind of artist that has been doing work on the Dragon Quest series, I think, since the beginning, or at least the second one. I think his name is Akira Toriyama. He has just he has been working on Dragon Ball Z for since the beginning, so that style has been kind of iconic for Dragon Quest artwork for their characters, and it's mostly like the really spiky hair and like the frowny eyes kind of look. I think. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I just had to stay muted because they were sawing away over here,
Okay,
so
sorry.
like a
I
power
wasn't
saw.
sure if that made any sense.
See?
I didn't hear anything actually.
Well, that's good. I can hear it. It
Okay,
sounds.
so maybe your noise canceling is really good then. Okay, I heard a little bit that
Yeah,
time.
I was gonna say. I know you gotta hear that. It's like one room over. It's no. It's anyway. So okay. So oh my.
Okay, so I'll just keep yammering away and go on to the eighth one then,
Yeah, go
for
for
the
it.
PlayStation 2. Which now it also has like a version for the 3DS with some added features, so that's cool, and I kind of want that to play on the go. But anyway, Dragon Quest VIII: Journey of the Cursed King was the first Dragon Quest game I have ever played, and it was also like one of the most prettiest games I had played at the time with this cartoony part anime kind of look. And the voices were really well done, and I think that was actually something that the West got that Japan didn't, as far as I could tell. In Japan, it was just text with scenes, but with important scenes or cut scenes, we actually got voice acting, and it was actually really good. And they usually tend to stick to like this British kind of accents. Like it's not just British, but I just don't know what the names of any other ones would be. But they kind of stick to that. And one of my favorite characters was probably Yangus. His accent is just so thick, and he has such the silliest sayings sometimes. And when he's surprised, he did a funny pose at some points, like "Cold blimey." I just thought that was funny. I think
Oh,
that's a lot of people's favorite parts too
so
for
okay.
Yangus.
So now I get it because when I played Dragon Quest 11 on stream and that girl kept saying that, you made a joke about it and I didn't get it at the time. So, but now I
Yeah,
get it. Now I get it.
I think I said, "Oh, she said that, but it doesn't beat Yangus's "Cold blimey."
Yeah, yeah.
You could probably look it up on YouTube and just see how he reacted to it and how he said it.
That's funny.
Um, So I have a feeling it was just super popular. But yeah, I never finished Dragon Quest VIII because holy crap, it got hard. Something that I really liked about the older remakes is that I don't know if instant death spells were a thing yet, or they just didn't use them because I was better at it or something. But I ended up rage quitting Dragon Quest VIII because I couldn't make it to the church before it got nighttime, and these upgraded versions of Dancing Devils were too fast, and they just insta deathed my entire party in 2 turns. That was very rage inducing. Ugh.
Oh, I can imagine.
Especially since before I found that island, I was sailing around for like at least an hour grinding, trying to find where to go. I'm like, oh, hey, there's a church here. I'll just go here and save and rest real quick. Game's like, nope. And I'm like, okay, game, nope to you too. uh, but it was a really fun and interesting story, and the main character has this cute little mouse he keeps in his pocket. And if you have like different cheeses that you make with the alchemy pot in your inventory and you use it to feed the little mouse, it'll have different effects. Like it might make your mouse breathe fire on everything. The spicy cheese. I thought that was really cute.
I know I tend to breathe fire after spicy cheese, so.
And I think if I remember right, the all the music in Dragon Quest VIII was actually orchestrated, so it was extremely pretty. And it was first person with like the combat, but you could see your characters, like, jump out of line to attack and stuff. But until you attacked, you would kind of just look at the enemies, and the enemies were really smoothly animated for the PlayStation 2. Like I know the PlayStation 2 was pretty good graphics at the time, but sometimes stuff will be blurry or a little bit or some textures, but I don't really remember seeing that too much. The enemies are so finely detailed and so smooth moving with the animations. I would usually sometimes end up watching them to see if they did anything cute or something. Even though of course they're out to kill me, I liked watching the jail cats groom themselves sometimes or roll over because they skip their turn.
Yeah, they
So
always
yeah.
have some neat little kind of Easter egg style animation things, if you pay attention.
Mhm.
So,
Oh boy.
um, you know, I, so
What's sad is I can still keep going right until Echoes of an Elusive Age.
sure,
there's like three more pretty much in the
sure,
main entry.
yeah, and then you still have
The spin-offs
yeah, the
I'll
spin-offs
get
and
into.
and the Dragon Quest Heroes games, and the spin-offs. I mean, those were some crazy things. I mean, they even had an anime series that was I don't know how well received that was, but
Oh, I
apparently,
didn't know that.
yeah, only 13 out of like 43 of the episodes got translated to English. So obviously, there's not a
Hmm.
whole lot of people watching it, but I think you can find those English versions on YouTube. But it's like that old anime style, like it looks like it was made in the 80s,
Oh wow.
which is kind of cool in a way because they like to have that nostalgic retro thing. So
Hmm.
it's kind of fitting, but
Yeah.
I've never actually watched it. I've just seen clips.
Hmm. Yeah. It does make you curious though what it would be about, and it's a shame it wasn't even fan translated all the way. It was just that bad to them. They just... um. So yeah, I guess one thing I will mention about like the 3DS version I've heard of Dragon Quest VIII, it's probably not fully orchestrated music anymore. I think the voice acting stayed in it, which is pretty impressive for like this little cartridge that you put in your handheld. But they added like a couple of new features. I don't remember all of them, but I do remember that um I I don't think this was in the original because I don't remember doing it. But you would get a camera and you could take certain pictures for maybe rewards or something. So yeah, it was like this new in-game thing to take pictures with, and I'm not too sure why. I wish I could remember. But just having such a big RPG on portable sounds enticing to me because as much as I love like Dragon Quest VIII and I still own it, so I can go back to it at any time. I tend to just want to pick up my handheld so I don't have to hook it back up again or anything like that. I could just turn it on and start playing. So yeah, so I guess with Dragon Quest VIII, it's when it started getting more difficult for me, and maybe that more recent remake of Dragons of the Forgotten Past. 'Cause I don't really remember being wiped out by any instant death spells before that.
Now, which one is your favorite out of the whole series?
Mm, huh, that's hard. It might, hmm, it might be the Hand of the Heavenly Bride or the one I'm getting to next, Dragon Quest IX: Sentinels of the Starry Skies. I want to say.
Okay.
Of course, Echoes of Elusive Age is really good. I just haven't really played enough of it yet. So I'm basing this off ones I finished or just played a decent amount of to get a good opinion on it.
Sure.
You sound so disappointed. Yeah, sure. It's
No,
okay.
I'm just like okay, so
You can't wait to get your view on that.
yeah, not just that, but like there was a gap of Dragon Quest games that I actually have them like for my 3DS, but haven't played. So I'm kind of like I kind of have to take a back seat on this conversation, and because I did get into Dragon Quest 11, and we'll get there. But
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, we're getting there. It should be only a couple more minutes.
no, I'm not in a hurry. I'm just like, come on, man, Red Dead Redemption 2. But like like I just I think I definitely didn't play Dragon Quest 8, and I don't whichever one that last one on the 3DS was. I didn't I have it.
Fragments of the Forgotten Past.
Yeah, I have it. I just haven't played it. So I but my backlog is at least as big as yours, if not. Oh, well, yours is probably bigger than mine, to be honest. But
Well, with what you did recently, it's probably catching up real quick.
yeah, true.
So, yeah, I think those would have to be my favorite ones just from the amount of games that I played. And not saying I don't like any of the other, just that certain things that happened kind of made me get a little bit sour towards it, like what I just said, being wiped out because I couldn't save because the only way to save was to go to a church. Kind of was very unfortunate, and I just could not go back to it beforehand. So yes, now we're on to Dragon Quest IX: Sentinels of the Starry Skies. And if anyone actually kind of notices, I think whenever they localize a Dragon Quest game, they keep this kind of pattern with the subtitles on purpose. It kind of like rolls off the tongue or has a certain way of saying it, and it kind of makes it really interesting, or the titles stick out. I'm not sure what the official term for it is, but they do admit that they make the titles a certain way. Like with the Sentinels of the Starry Skies, Chapters of the Chosen, Realms of Revelation, stuff like that. Anyway, this one for the DS was another official entry. And of course, since it was for the DS and not 3DS, it might not be as pretty, but I think it was pretty amazing at the time for what they did. And they also changed the battle system up slightly so that instead of just standing in a line for the turn based, as you take your actions and the monsters take their actions, it actually shows them running around the battlefield. So it makes it feel more, like an active battlefield, which I thought was pretty cool. It doesn't really change the actual turn-based thing in any way. It just kind of shows a little bit more going on instead of just jump, attack, jump, returns back to line. Which there's nothing wrong with that either. Um, but what was different, excuse me, with Sentinels of the Starry Skies is that it was the first time that I know of that you can actually customize and create your own main character and also any party members down the line once you unlocked it. And I loved that. I had such a fun time with that. I ended up making my very first Pathfinder character to be the main character because she was a monk and I could find an appearance that suited her. So that was pretty fun. And once you get and unlock the certain tavern, you can make your own party members from there. But unfortunately, because they're not like main characters or anything, they just kind of sit there in the background and don't really say anything. So if that's something that's a downer, you'll notice that because they're not really going to be a part of the story. It's just characters you can swap in and out and make for certain job classes. And another thing, of course, that I mentioned with the job classes is with Sentinels of the Starry Sky, they had, I think, quite a few of unlockable job classes, and some of them were pretty tricky. You had to go back to old places once you could and try to find certain people with like very specific labeled speech bubbles, and if you did a task for them, it would unlock a certain class. So if you're kind of like a class junkie like me or part collectathon person that likes that to get every class, it was kind of hard to find them all, but usually at the end it will be worth it. And you can still mix and match classes with this one, and certain skills might carry over or stay with you, so you could have a lot of options this way. And I'm actually thinking about replaying it at some point soon-ish, hopefully, when I just go through a huge Dragon Quest replayathon, and I might like ask what friends would want to technically play and be part of the party, and I'll make them in the game if they want to. And that just sounds kind of fun. Like you ask your friends, "Hey, I'm going to play Dragon Quest. Who wants to be in my party?" And these are the classes that are available until later. And like your friend, I don't know, whatever random friend name here would want to be like a melee fighter. Okay, you're a soldier until I unlock this, and then I'll do that and the other thing. So yeah, I thought that was a really cool and fun game. And also something I kind of wish I stuck to in a way. For an entire year after this game released, Nintendo continued to support it with like special updates that older characters from Dragon Quest might visit the special inn or something, and they could give you map pieces or whole pieces or the whole map to go to special really hard dungeons to challenge yourself and get good loot. But I didn't play for the whole year because I just can't. I'm bad at being consistent. So unfortunately, I didn't get to see everyone who could have stopped by. But I thought that was really cool that they decided to support it for a whole year, so that even if you beat the game, you could challenge yourself and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
Holy moly, I am taking this over. I'm
ah,
sorry.
no, you're good. It's good that you're talking because, like I said, we have construction going on over here, so there's like
Mhm.
hammering and sawing and whatnot. I did want to say a couple of people have joined on to the Facebook live stream. I'm trying to monitor it from my phone, and just a reminder, we're talking about the Dragon Quest series, which is it's been around for years now. Early on, it was called Dragon Warrior. Um, but you guys, again, if you, it's easier for us to keep up with you guys if you come into the Twitch chat. I did post a link just now underneath the live video. So if you scroll up and see that, you can come there. But yeah, that's what we're talking about is Dragon Quest. And again, we do appreciate you guys coming in, checking it out. And the reason why we're letting Christina just run with this is she's the Dragon Quest person. You know what I'm saying? Like, not just the fact that I'm trying to be quiet because there's so much construction noise going on over here, but that cool. All right, Nicole, maybe we'll see you in the Twitch chat. But yeah, so she's had a little bit more experience in the game, and honestly, I've been such a big Final Fantasy fan that I do what most people do, and that's every time I play it, I compare it to Final Fantasy, and sometimes that's not the best thing to do. But yeah. So anyway, this is her arena.
Yeah,
So
and since it's reverse and I haven't played much Final Fantasy and I played more of this, I don't really have much to compare it to.
yeah, but see,
That's its own series,
that's
its own.
how yeah that's how we can you know discuss this wide range of topics because you'll play games that I don't, and I play games that you don't, and or don't play often anyway. And then that
Mhm.
way we have different viewpoints and stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, and I do like this series. It's just sometimes it's hard for me to get into, not because of the game quality or anything like that, because Dragon Quest has fantastic storylines. It's just getting myself to sit down and play them. Any game in general, for
Mhm.
that
We
reason.
both have problems with consistency sometimes and
it,
sticking to a game. Like
you,
I sometimes I'll be like, okay, this game right here puts in front of my face. I am only playing this game until I beat it or I get my fill of it or it gets too hard. Then I get distracted and play another one after 2 weeks anyway.
yeah,
And then I gotta start over because I can't get back into a game that I've had a break for on too long.
right. And with me, I turn on my 3DS, and while I'm sitting there looking for which game I'm gonna play, I'll go on there like, okay, I'm gonna play Animal Crossing today, and then I'll open it up and I'll be like, well, you know what? I kind of wanted to start, Fantasy Life, and then I'll play it for 5 minutes, and then I'll be like, meh, turn it off, and start playing something on the computer, just because that's just how I am.
Hmm.
But okay, so where are we on the timeline for Dragon Quest?
We are now in Dragon Quest X, so we're getting there. We are so close. And then
Nice.
spin-off land and your more opinion on Echoes of Elusive Age.
Sure. Okay, let's do it.
So Dragon Quest X is more of like a mini rant for me because we actually never got that. And it was kind of a strange decision because this actually isn't considered a spin-off, even though they made it MMO style. Like it is a legit MMORPG, Dragon Quest X. So people were already unsure because they're like, why are they making a single player game into an MMO and it's the main, title in the series? It's a main numbered title. It's not a spin-off like Joker is or anything like that. Um, so there's not really too much I could say about it, even though I wish I could, except for ranting that I wish we got it. I really wish we got it. It's actually I think still being somewhat supported in Japan to the point where I think they're porting it to maybe the PlayStation 4 soon, something like that. And I think Japan is also possibly getting it for the Switch, and that is where I'm like, please let there be a chance that this would get ported to the Switch after so long. And as long as it was like a buy to play game, like you buy the title for $60 or whatever in the store, whatever. And then if I didn't have to pay monthly subscription because it would be too expensive at that point, because $15 a month to play a game is just too much for me for any game, in my opinion. Um, but if they just did it buy to play, and then I'll just have to get the yearly Nintendo Switch online subscription, I would buy that so hard. Like, out of my way, I am buying this game.
Nice. You wanna welcome this new follower? Did you get that notification? You should see it in the chat.
uh, I didn't see anything about a new follower.
You don't see the one that says Stream Elements?
Oh yeah, hello.
You can welcome them. You've never had a chance to welcome somebody in real time.
Oh yeah, I never knew that's what it means. So it's like an automatic message for following.
So somebody just
Oh,
followed,
okay. I thought Stream Elements was the username. It's like derp.
and it's actually Nicole from the company that I was working for from home. Um,
Thank you for following.
Hi, Nicole.
I can actually see the chat now. So yeah, that's probably the main thing I can say for Dragon Quest X. And before I get to 11, just one quick thing. With Final Fantasy, have they always kept like the same theme song for like the beginning before the game starts?
No, it's different every time, and the only thing that really stays the same is the victory song, like when you win a
Okay.
battle, because that's like the most recognizable. I mean, some things stay the same, but see, no Final Fantasy really ties into each other, and I don't think they really
Okay.
do in Dragon Quest either. But
But
so
at the same time, that's why I asked because I am almost to the most recent game they just released this year, and ever since they made the first game, as far as I know, they have kept the same theme song for the very start of the game. And personally, for me, that theme gives me goosebumps. It's just they do such a good cutscene or welcoming cutscene for before you even press start. And it has this epic scene, a low time part of the scene when it calms down, and then it does da 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 when it finally gives you the title of Dragon Quest, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be good.
yeah,
So
and bleh. Yeah. See, I want to say it so bad. Dragon Quest 11 did not disappoint with that opening.
yes. So now just I'll just pretty much go with that because there's not much I can say about 10 except I wish we could get it. And that was a strange, possibly developing choice to make it into an MMO instead of single player experience. But from gameplay I saw, it still looked pretty fun. And since I like Dragon Quest enough where I would want to try it, I probably would try it if they would let us get it in the way that I said. So yes, we are finally at Dragon Quest XI: Echoes of an Elusive. You want to start with this one?
I mean, you can start, because once I get going, I don't know if they'll start hammering and drilling again and cut me
Oh,
off,
okay.
So you can give it a start and we'll see how it goes.
Well, I haven't really gotten too terribly far in it. I think my characters since I last played were about level 17 to 20. And it does still have some Dragon Quest difficulty to it, because at one place I was supposed to kill a certain monster for these side quests, excuse me, that are in it. And it's weird because I defeated that special monster the first time and it didn't happen. But then once I got the quest and I had to find it specifically to fight it, it knew an instant death spell for the whole team. And again, I got wiped out in 2 turns. I almost rage quit, but then I remembered, or I realized that because it's a newer game and it can do all these auto saves, I actually didn't lose much progress. It saved to right before I left the town and started looking for the monster. So I'm like, oh, okay, so that's not too bad. I didn't lose an hour's worth of progress because of all these auto saves. So I did get to beat it, and I think that is what helps for me to not rage quit because I really hate those instant death spells. They never work for you, but the monsters always know them. And since your whole party is a 4 player or 4 person group, if it's a group like thwack, it'll always hit your whole group. Unlike if you have thwack, it has to be a group of the same exact enemy.
Oh
It's not
man.
gonna work 99% of the time anyway. But yeah,
Does that bother you a little bit? It sounds like you might be bothered a little bit.
with the instant death stuff,
Yeah.
that's a joke you're asking, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, because I really freaking hate that. It's so cheap.
Yeah, I could hear the
But
I could hear the frustration.
yeah, the autosave saved me personally because I really did not want to rage quit this game. So at least that helped me out, and I still got to do it. And then before it would happen again, and I wasn't sure if an autosave would happen. Now they also have these cool things called campsites, and you can actually save and heal yourself of like poisoning and resurrect them in the middle of nowhere. So before you'd always have to go back to civilization to a church to do that, but now they kind of have these statues out there that count as mini churches. So you can save and do all that stuff out in the middle of the field to like find a grind spot, which I love because especially if there's more insta death, because I'm going to save as much as possible to keep trying to kill them. Um, so yeah, I got mine on the PlayStation 4, and I think you got yours on the PC first, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like yours might have been slightly prettier than mine, but for the PlayStation 4, I think it's an insanely pretty game. The characters, they're cartoony and anime looking, but and yet they kind of look like this is what a character would look like, a cartoon character would look like in real life.
Yeah, for sure.
Their attention to detail is amazing, and like one of the very first scenes when you enter the game, like you said, with the attention to detail, is when they do a close up of the hero's sword sheath, you can see the wrinkles of the leather in it and stuff, and the texture of their clothes.
Yeah, it was just insane. It was like when all that stuff happened, it was like mind blowing. Like I was like, look, you
Hmm.
can see every detailed piece of fabric in his shirt. You could see, yeah, the creases in the leather of his sword sheath. And even on like even though they were like you said cartoon type characters, what was distinctive to me was the shading on their faces that just made it look realistic, but they also had like wrinkles and like smile lines, and when they would close their eyes, like the corner of their eyes would wrinkle up. Like I mean, it was just so much detail to it.
Hmm. And I can't say much about Dragon Quest this one story wise because I haven't gotten too terribly. I think some parts were a little bit predictable, but I still enjoyed what I found so far. And then after that, something not so predictable would happen. Like when I go back to the hometown, something happens, and I was pretty much expecting a certain thing to happen, and I was technically right, but it fooled me to think that it didn't happen.
Right.
And this one I'm not gonna say anything about because it is a more recent game and I don't want to spoil it in case anyone would play it or
Yeah.
has yet to.
I don't want anybody cussing me out on YouTube
Mm.
afterwards, being like, you know what, tuned into your stream to try to support you, and then you've ruined a whole $60 game for me.
Not that I'm that far in the game, but also it hasn't been done too far or too much in their games previously, but in fact, and since those are the Starry Skies and of course Dragon Quest X, but I didn't play that, those games started so their encounters weren't random. Like that they had them running around on the field and then you would run into them to start the encounter. Same
Sure.
thing with this one. Because before it was just a random encounter, which there isn't anything wrong with that, but sometimes when you're just trying to get where you're going, it's like, oh god, another
And
one.
that's also how they're doing the new Pokemon game, by the way.
Yeah, there's, because it's working, like, Let's Go, that one, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Kind
yeah.
of stumbled on my own words there.
Yeah, they're taking out the random encounters and making it where, like, you see the Pidgey flying, and then you can
Hmm.
just walk up to it to start the encounter. So,
Hmm. That
yeah,
would probably be a talk for another whole stream, though, because God, there's so much strong opinions about that one.
yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, so do you have anything to add about um 11 before we
Sure,
try to talk about some spin-offs?
sure. Now that we only have 5 minutes left, um,
Sorry.
you're you're fine. See, this is the thing. You're always like, "Well, I don't really have anything to talk about," and sorry I didn't talk too much, and yet, but you could carry a conversation. I don't want to hear that. So,
But now I don't have enough time because I went on too long.
who is this person anyway? So, Gravehonor is Christina. She is my real life girlfriend, and
Alright.
we're a gamer couple, and so sometimes it's just us on here, and sometimes we have special guests. So this time it's just us. But so this is what I'll say about Dragon Quest 11. Like I put it in, I opened it up with expectations of it being a decent game. It's new, so I figured it was gonna look all right. I had no idea like that how good it was gonna look, and I'm used to these open world style games where you just kind of walk around and do whatever, which is why I'm in love with Red Dead Redemption 2. And trust me, there'll be many, many more streams of that even after the game is beat. I may stream it just to walk around a bit, but regardless, that was pretty much how I treated Dragon Quest XI. I was too overwhelmed with the way the environments looked. that's all I could do. Was I was not concerned with battling enemies or doing anything else. I was just kind of walking around like, ooh, look at this waterfall. This is awesome. Ooh, look at this. This is green grass. Look at this water. It's so clear. Like everything about it. That's pretty much what I was doing. And I will say this: I don't know what caused it. It had to do something with my graphics card driver. But I was streaming Dragon Quest 11, but I went to go stream it about a week ago, and I got this blue screen of death, and it was one of those
Oh.
ones that had to do with the graphics card. So I was a little bit too scared to start streaming it again because it's a new computer, and I don't really want to tear it up, so to speak. So I will probably end up picking it up on the PlayStation 4 as well, and playing it on there because I mean, what's the good in having a 60-inch HD TV in your room if you can't play, Dragon Quest and Red Dead Redemption and pretty much Spyro remake on there. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, overall, I was really blown away with Dragon Quest 11 and the way it looked, and anybody who and I will say this about that series, like even if you've never played the first 10, you can jump in on 11 and still enjoy it and still enjoy the whole series. Like you don't,
Mm-hmm.
it's not something where you have to play the first 10 first. So I highly recommend that if you have any interest in it at all, pick it up and play it.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And also, of course, the more sales they'll get, hopefully Square Enix will stop being so dang stubborn and give us it without being so afraid of releasing it over here.
Yeah, and see, that's her angle right there. She's just wants everybody who's watching and listening go buy 20 copies so that they will bring the other
I was gonna
two,
say it would
the
help
other
me.
two that haven't been translated. She get those sales boosted up, and yeah, that way she can play more Dragon Quest.
It's just a little bit of a selfish request.
Yeah, it's all good.
Um,
So
so I don't know. I don't think we have enough time to actually tell about all of their spin-offs. But do you think we would have time for maybe one
yeah,
for the newer?
jump into it. You got a couple of minutes here,
Okay.
and we have one comment in the chat that says that they're not a fan, pretty much of
You don't like the artwork.
the artwork, and that's
That's
understandable.
fine.
You know,
Um, so I'll just talk about a little bit of a slightly new spin-off series that they're working on. I say series because we are getting the second one. Dragon Quest Builders, a mashup of like a single-player Dragon Quest game that's still single player, but gives you some slight freedom with building and the blockiness of like Minecraft that's going to be compared to a lot. And I didn't beat that one, but I did play a decent amount of it, and I thought it was actually really fun. The dialogue was pretty witty, and the story that I got so far was still pretty good. And sometimes when your character goes to bed, you'll get a strange dream of something that happened, so it might give you more hints about the story. And I do know one thing about articles I've read is that at the very start of Builders, a villain is talking to you, and they ask you if you want to join them, and they treat this as if you had said yes, because in like a past Dragon Quest game, they still have that option, but obviously you'd have to answer no to probably beat the game. But with this one, they treat it what would happen to the world if you had said yes. And apparently, the world has fallen into ruin. You're not a hero, technically, you're just a builder, and no one else knows the quote secret art of building. So you get to build these towns with these blueprints and try to help people make their civilizations again. And we are getting a second one in the West in 2019. Not sure exactly when, but we're getting it, and I am so psyched.
now that this one, I saw some of the news about that where it's going to include like multiplayer, co-op, and
More customization
fishing.
and costumes.
Didn't it say fishing?
I I think so.
I think it said
And
fishing.
I think it said you could even like swim sort of too. Before, if you just jumped in the water, you would, get hurt and get thrown back out.
Yeah, I know they said for sure there was going to be farming. So
Improving the farming system, it kind of
yeah,
poked around with
and we
the
know
first one.
farming is your weakness, but it's also kind of mine. Like anybody that knows, I got stuck on Graveyard Keeper and was like staying up hours and hours past my bedtime because I just refused to stop playing. But I have you to thank for all of that, getting me messed up with those off of one stupid app on Facebook one time.
You're welcome.
And
But you found Graveyard Keeper all on your own.
I did. But that's just a result of you getting me messing around with farming games, and then I ventured out.
Grr.
So yeah, I mean, and again, there's probably I mean, shit, we didn't even really touch on the like handheld versions or anything like that. So this conversation actually could have gone on for at least another hour.
Well, well, we kind of did because the remakes I talked about, those three were for handheld. The 3D 8 started on PS2, but also has a handheld version. Sentinels of the Starry Sky was a handheld, and yeah, we just didn't get to the monsters or Rocket Slime or anything like that.
Sure.
Oh,
But
but an interesting fact, real quick, about Dragon Quest XI, I forgot to mention, is that we actually didn't get a really interesting version of it. In Japan, they had the PlayStation 4 version and PC, I believe, and they also got one for the 3DS where you can get like normal 3DS 3D graphics or whatever, or you could switch it on the fly between super nostalgic like 8 or 16-bit look to it.
oh, that's kind of
I
cool.
thought that Yeah, I thought that was super cool, and so many people wanted it to be able to switch graphic styles on the fly, but we didn't get it. So I thought that was pretty sad.
That's
I
kind
would
of
have bought both,
well,
so they missed out on some extra sales for me.
it's funny that with games like Stardew Valley and stuff, like the people have gone back to that 8 and 16-bit look. That it is kind of interesting that a new game like Dragon Quest 11 playing it as an 8-bit or 16-bit
Yeah,
game. So that would be for like people who are like really into to Harvest Moon, like getting
or they just really want that nostalgia trip, and that
yeah
would still be really cool.
getting to switch it back to make it look like old school Harvest Moon.
Mm.
I only bring that up because I know Cup Noodles in the chat like is a Harvest Moon freak, and you're a Harvest Moon freak, and then the one Harvest Moon that I like is the one that all you Harvest Moon freaks don't like. So
I just didn't really start playing around then. I think I started with, like Game Boy Advance and game stuff.
no, I'm saying the only one I really like is Light of Hope, and y'all didn't like that one, so
Oh,
screw you guys.
but I got to try it, and I thought it was alright. I like it for being nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So,
What?
so anyway, that pretty much wraps up our time for today. We went a little bit over, but we also started about a minute or two late. So we're good, but we definitely appreciate everybody coming out and everybody that's been watching on Facebook. Sorry you guys couldn't participate in the chat. Some of the chats came through for me, and some of them did not. But the easiest way is always going to be come straight to our Twitch channel, and you can interact with us, and you can spam dank emotes and things like that. Um, and if you get really fancy and want to subscribe, you can get some nice emotes that look like this. Um, Not that you guys on Facebook can see that, but we can see it. Actually, you might be able to.
Titan Chibis.
It might show that on stream. It might show up. Um, but yeah, thanks for tuning everything in and checking it out. We are doing this every Tuesday. There just may be um, a couple of Tuesdays in like December, January that we'll kind of be on vacation from everything, so we may or may not. But we for sure definitely appreciate it. We hope you guys have a fantastic spoopy Halloween tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's pretty much the show for this week.
So
Any?
yes, happy Halloween from the monsters hiding under your bed with brown sharpened eyes grow red. I couldn't help it. I had to do at least that.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to watch Nightmare Before Christmas tomorrow. I
Yeah.
gotta I gotta sing along to the Boogie Oogie song
Yes.
from Mr. Epots. Nah, that dude's scary enough. He's scary every day. It don't have to be Halloween. All right, guys, we appreciate it, and we will catch you next Tuesday. Keep your eye out.
Bye.
We'll tell you what we're talking about. Sorry, I talked over you. You could tell them bye now.
Oh, okay. It didn't really matter as long as they heard me like, bye and enjoy the trick or treating, and hopefully the candy doesn't cause discomfort, cause sugar coma.
Diabetes.
Yep.